Hey there, welcome back to another video. I've got this ongoing collaboration with our local YWCA organization, originally providing them a couple of pieces of office furniture, but also creating some woodshop goodies that they can use in their annual fall fundraising activities, like this cool stuff. They tell me that these regular kitchen and household accessory items seem to generate the most interest, and the most money too.
Hey, who am I to argue with a winning formula?
This time around, I'm going to use some woodshop scraps and smaller cutoffs and use them to create some useful items for the home.
I hate throwing away scraps of hardwood.
Custom-made wooden drink coasters always seem to do pretty well, and I want to revisit an old design of mine to incorporate a bunch of smaller diameter flat hardwoods mixed in with round dowels cast in a round mold with epoxy. This whole process looks harder than it actually is. Easier still if you can find a smooth-sided round form in a 4-inch diameter to do your casting. Hey, that sounds a lot like a piece of 4-inch PVC pipe to me, and with a single straight cut down the length so that you can pry the finished mold open. Epoxy really likes to stick to plastic, so you have to apply a waxy or an oil-based release agent on the inside of the mold if you ever hope to get it open again. And hey, regular old petroleum jelly smeared all over the surface and a rubber end cap will do. It's kind of gross and it's hard to wash off, but it does do the trick. Painter's tape will help to eliminate any leaks on the cut line. An 8-inch length of pipe actually works pretty well for what I had planned, and then I went on the hunt for some smaller cutoffs and colorful scraps of wood. Once I had enough to play with, I mixed up a batch of epoxy with just a touch of colored mica powder, and then I ran that mix through my vacuum pot in order to remove most of the bubbles. It's kind of fun watching it boil under the glass top. With about half of my mix poured into the mold, I started the artistic part of this little project by positioning the pieces of wood into as much of a random pattern as I could, filling in little gaps with smaller dowels, separating the wood textures, and making sure the flat pieces of wood didn't all just stack up together as a flat chunk. It all looks a bit chaotic,
Hence the name Chaos Coasters.
I topped off the epoxy in the mold and added some weight because, wood likes to float, and then I waited another day for it all to cure. The next day is for bandsaw surgery. That is, once I can get this mold open and the block extracted. The Vaseline residue needed to be washed off too. I really like this plastic pipe method because I don't have to put this block on the lathe to round it out. All it takes is a little light sanding on the exterior and then it's ready for cutting. I chose to make slices that are about 3/8 of an inch thick, which allows me to get 12 good coasters from this block before the end of the block starts to get too hard to hold on to. And following a boring session of sanding and more sanding to remove the bandsaw cut marks, it took 3 coats of water-based polyurethane to call it done. I also created a simple coaster holder with some leftover white ash scraps, cut into squares a little bigger than the coasters, and then with some holes punched into the corners for some retaining dowels. All in all, that assembly looks pretty profesh. Ah yes, what's a kitchen without a decorative trivet on the counter? And with this small pile of used wine corks for the base of the trivet, it sends a sophisticated upscale message to your guests that say, no, I do not drink wine from a box, and yes, I like to protect my countertops after making a big steaming pot of mac and cheese. This is a pretty simple construction that frames in as many corks as you might like to add, but you're going to want to skip the plastic ones as they don't tend to react well to heat. My little trivet uses 18 corks and some 3/4 inch wide hardwood for the frame, miter cut at the corners, giving me a 7-inch square, which is perfect for most small and medium-sized cooking pots. And if you're not a big wine drinker, no worries there either. You can find corks at most restaurants that serve wine if you just ask the bartender nicely.
And maybe offer a little cabbage as a thank you.
In my case, I got this bag of corks from another local woodworker who probably got his from another local woodworker. I think you can even buy these in bulk on eBay. For the base, I cut in a small rabbited edge on my blocks of mahogany to accept a thin piece of masonite on the bottom, and the whole assembly was clamped up and pretty much done. corks were simply glued into the bottom into a pattern one at a time, and there you have it. One upscale mac and cheese counter protector displaying only a hint of pretension. I also thought a decorative but functional set of kitchen tools might be cool, and I got the idea after we visited Greece last year and the purchase of these cool utensils made from olive wood. Wooden kitchen utensils look pretty great, but some sort of display countertop canister would be cool to hold them. I had the small piece of pine planking left over in the shop and figured that an octagon shape might be best here. Cuts at 22.5 degrees means that I can roll these canister sides up together with some glue and almost call it done. After gluing in a bottom piece and finishing it off with a little stain to bring out that cool alternating wood grain pattern on each of the 8 sides. I have to admit, even though the stained canister is just made out of pine, it actually looks pretty awesome. Any dense, tight-grained hardwood can be used for cooking tools, and I happen to have some hard maple left over that should work pretty well. 1-inch thick stock seems to give me enough thickness to trace out a curve for the scraper and the fork, while the spoon will remain mostly straight and flat, but still needing some hand tooling of the spoon head to make the actual spoon part of the spoon.
Great usage of the English language there.
These were pretty simple designs after all, but still required some careful work on the bandsaw to get the profile I was after. And in the end, all 3 pieces looked about right, aside from all the finish shaping and sanding required to get them into a smooth, final shape. I've never actually tried to make cooking tools before, and despite the fear of screwing things up, the rough pieces started to look pretty good. The spoon created its own challenges. The hard maple proved to be a bit difficult to carve out for that spoon head. I guess a little at a time with some of my smaller carving tools got most of the waste removed, and then a curved head sanding bulb helped me quite a bit to smooth out the inside of that hand carve work. I wanted them to be functional and not just decorative, so I finished them off with some food-safe butcher block conditioner, which is a blend of mineral oil and beeswax. It soaks into the grain to seal the surfaces, and I'll let it sit for 24 hours before adding a second application. Finally, I thought I'd add one more item to the fundraiser list in the form of a good-sized charcuterie board. I had some leftover white ash from a kid's table and chairs project and thought that some thin walnut might be cool running down the center of the board. This was pretty easy to cut and assemble, but these boards seemed to generate some of the most interest during those fundraisers. Once the glue had dried and the board was completely sanded, this became another great candidate for a food-safe finish, and that butcher block conditioner is my go-to solution. With a surface this big, it helps to warm up the wax with a heat gun to allow the wood grain to absorb the conditioner, and you can see it sink into the pores. But I'll still let it sit wet overnight for another treatment the following day. I skipped over some of the details like finishing the coasters and utensil holder with some satin polyacrylic, but I like this product and it tends to flow pretty well and give me a finish nearly as good as a spray out with lacquer. All in all, I'm pleased with this year's variety of donations, and I hope they generate the same level of auction or raffle interest as experienced in years past. It's always nice to do something for the community when you get a chance. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. We don't ask for donations or charge for our content, so your thumbs up and a subscription to our channel helps us a lot in the world of YouTube. Take care.